Hello, this is KYC News. We provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable information for the day. First and foremost, we want to achieve perfect health with a sincere desire. The notion of national security in Estonia. One of the most significant pillars of Estonia's security strategy is the growth of regional and international military cooperation, together with a deliberate effort to ensure domestic security with an emphasis on resilience and deterrence. Armed forces will be combined with non-military skills to provide a comprehensive collective defense, since Estonia's defense plan stipulates that the nation's defense cannot be limited to military protection only. Many different sectors and people from the governmental and corporate sectors, as well as from civil society organizations, are thought to be responsible for national security and the related preparedness. The convergence of security domains and ministerial distribution of responsibilities are being replaced by a broad task-based strategy, which is probably the most obvious manifestation of Estonia's emerging comprehensive strategy, according to a comparison of the two previous national security policies. 1-2. The concept of resilience is also presented in the 2017 National Security Policy. It is emphasized frequently throughout the document and is further examined in a separate subchapter, maybe for the first time. Whole of government plus whole of society, which combine the two most crucial components of the comprehensive strategy framework, and the idea of resilience is one of the most crucial concepts on which Estonia's national defense policy plans are based. 3. It is crucial to understand that the general public has received these updated conceptual notions pretty favorably. In addition, Estonians generally agree that everyone should share responsibilities for maintaining national security. As a result, Estonians have high expectations for a comprehensive security and defense architecture, which demonstrates both the population's strength on purpose and its capacity to change in response to changing circumstances. Such substantial support for national defense could be seen as a result of securitization. In this way, a lot of individuals endorse the idea that perhaps a complete defense policy can guarantee a country's security. Regarding Estonia, the all-encompassing approach was initially welcomed as a component of a progressive European security idea that was gaining momentum at the same time as Estonia was actively integrating into NATO and the European Union. It was seen at the time as a workable substitute for the traditional territorial defense idea. Incidents in Georgia's national defense concepts started to assume great prominence in 2008, during the August War. However, it wasn't until 2014, following the invasion and takeover of Crimea and the escalation of hostilities in eastern Ukraine, that it became obvious that these two ideas are not mutually exclusive. Instead, in order to attain larger benefits in terms of resilience and deterrent capabilities, a comprehensive strategy might be considered as a crucial addition to the territorial defense paradigm. In order to develop a cogent reaction in the event of a crisis, Estonia has adopted a comprehensive national defense policy that emphasizes the requirement of coordination and cooperation across numerous government institutions. The significance of a defense strategy can be fully understood when the scope of collaboration across close-by but disparate areas is taken into consideration. In addition, there are 5 other defense-related fields that are developing in opposition to military defense, such as civilian support for national defense, international operations, internal stability, preservation of future society, and political processes by providing necessary services, including but not limited to proactive information sharing and psychological operations. 5. The Estonian government claims that the following ministries are in charge of various duties. The Interior Ministry is in charge of general and internal security as well as the maintenance of the nation's and society's sustained functions. The Defense Ministry is responsible for military protection and civil assistance for military defense. The Foreign Ministry is essential to global endeavors. The updated defense strategy keeps these obligations as well. It is important to note that the revised national defense policy, in accordance with the comprehensive strategy rationale, consolidates various regulatory sectors into a single body rather than having 3 different laws governing the defense industry in peacetime and conflict as well as international cooperation. Threats and security environment. The country's international developments and cross-border risks have an impact on the security environment in Estonia. Estonia's NSC for 2017 acknowledges asymmetric hazards that transcend national borders and whose sources are obscure. They have an effect simultaneously that is comparable to that of traditional security risks. Since the World Trade Center explosions, Islamist terrorism has been a chronic worry in the West. Unstable Middle Eastern and North African nations pose a persistent threat to the West from terrorism, jeopardizing Estonia's security. One of the biggest security risks facing common European residents is terrorism. Estonia follows developments in Europe. The past 20 years have seen a number of occurrences in Europe, including bombings in London and Madrid, a shooting at Frankfurt Airport, and terrorist strikes in Paris. As a result, in its strategy paper, Estonia has listed global crises and uneven socio-economic development as security vulnerabilities. Europe may have suffered the most when Hosni Mubarak was toppled in Egypt, Muammar Gaddafi was put to death in Libya, civil war broke out in Syria, and Yemen as a result of the Arab Spring movement. Estonia's security is at risk because of unstable Middle Eastern and North African countries' ongoing terrorism threat to the West. Terrorism is one of the main security dangers that regular European citizens must deal with. Estonia keeps up with events in Europe. Numerous incidents have occurred in Europe during the past 20 years, including terrorist attacks in Paris and bombings in London and Madrid. As a result, Estonia cited global crises and uneven socio-economic development as security weaknesses in its strategy paper. When Hosni Mubarak was overthrown in Egypt, Muammar Gaddafi was executed in Libya, civil war broke out in Syria, and Yemen as a result of the Arab Spring movement, Europe may have suffered the most. The biggest external threat to Estonia over the past 10 years has come from Russia. To achieve their goals, the Russians have used a number of tactics. Additionally, Russia has increased the number of troops it has stationed along the borders of the Baltic states and in the region. Russian actions that are confrontational and aggressive include air boundary violations, military drills, and threats to use nuclear weapons, among other things. As a result, Russia poses a threat to the entire Euro-Atlantic region since it has the ability and propensity to use a variety of non-military weaponry, including those that are armed, economic, energy-related, or informational. In Russia and the surrounding area, war, crises, and conflict have frequently happened. Two specific violations occurred: the 2008 crisis in Georgia and the ongoing confrontation between Russia and Ukraine. Examples of recent indirect conflicts include the rioting in April 2007, which included an attack on the Estonian embassy in Russia, and the kidnapping of a security officer in Estonia in 2014. Russia has additionally proven its digital capability in a global context. Because to Russia's cyber attack on Estonia in April 2007, it is claimed in this study that cyber attacks have been considered in security-related criteria. Although the threats to Estonia's security environment have changed throughout time, the goal of defending the nation has not changed. The state's mission depends on maintaining Estonia's national sovereignty, territorial integrity, constitutional order, and national security. The protection of fundamental human rights, liberties, and essential human values are all connected with the nation's security measures. Democratic values ensure society's long-term viability and durability through fostering civil society and raising the nation's international status. As the global crisis impact on Estonia intensifies, it is more crucial than ever to work on solutions that can help other countries. The United Nations Charter and international law must be upheld in order to preserve the rule-based global order. As a result, it is thought that providing humanitarian aid and defending human rights are crucial. These programs enjoy widespread support on a global scale. Estonia distinguishes out for emphasizing unrestricted internet access, while other Baltic governments are more focused on safeguarding human rights in online environments. Collective protection. The most crucial element in guaranteeing Estonia's security has always been transatlantic cooperation, particularly before and after Estonia joined NATO and the EU. Without a question, Estonia's best line of defense against a hypothetical invasion is NATO, making active involvement a national concern. As a NATO member, Estonia views the United States as a crucial ally in ensuring the security of the nation due to its position in Europe. 9. For Estonia to maintain regional and global equilibrium, more cooperation with security-related organizations is essential. Conflict avoidance and the UN's capacity to address global issues will receive a lot of attention. This is supported by the Estonian government as well, enhancing Estonia's participation in the EU's common foreign and security policy. On the other hand, Estonia hasn't placed a lot of focus on fostering collaboration and actively taking part in the development of the security strategy of the relevant organizations. Estonia wants to sign international arms reduction accords because it thinks it is crucial to restrict the use of conventional weapons in Europe. It emphasizes how important it is for the nation to guard against the smuggling or illegal movement of weapons of mass destruction, as well as their components, across its borders. According to the NSC, Estonia and the Nordic countries have friendly relations. Estonia's economy and defense capabilities have benefited from close cooperation with these countries. In addition to wanting an open dialogue with Russia as well as practical cooperation, Estonia is eager to advance Nordic-Baltic military cooperation on a regional and international level. Protecting the environment for humans. The main variables affecting Estonia's environmental security include the state of the country's natural environment, general well-being, socio-economic situation, contingency planning, uninterrupted access to essential services, food, and potable water, and the capacity of society to function effectively on its own in the event of a protracted disruption of essential services. In Estonia, storms and floods are the most frequent natural catastrophes, with storms being responsible for the vast majority of incidences. As active civic help is developed to deal with crises, society is better equipped to handle emergencies that can be reasonably anticipated and prepared for. To do this, it is vital to increase public awareness of potential hazards and viable mitigation strategies. By encouraging ecologically friendly values and behavioral norms among the populace, improved environmental circumstances are supported in Estonia. This is achieved by effectively managing and implementing pollution control measures, making efficient use of available natural resources, and minimizing waste. Estonia is taking action to clean up polluted land and water areas as well as prevent the spread of environmentally hazardous chemicals. The living environment is impacted by social and economic issues as well. The NSC emphasized the importance of resolving labor market difficulties and putting in place a workable social security system that takes at-risk populations into account as early as 2004. There are many ways to lessen the risks brought on by climate change, including risk management, tracking, and dealing with the effects. To accomplish this, joint efforts are made with the international community, local governments, the corporate and non-profit sectors, and the scientific community. Monitoring of maritime pollution and marine traffic management are two more areas of international cooperation. Like its neighboring nations, Estonia is aware of the possible risks posed by radiation. Nuclear power plants older than 10 years in the Baltic Sea region are considered to be possibly dangerous. As a member of a global initiative, Estonia participates in efforts to enhance radiation protection in the Baltic region. 12. Rapid response times are made possible by early warning systems that can quickly identify radioactive accidents in neighboring countries. Security of energy. Estonia has a modest yet open economy that is heavily reliant on world economic expansion. According to the 2004 NSC, national security depends on the efficient growth and accountability of economic ties as well as a steady inflow of foreign investments. The state is extremely sensitive to recessions and economic volatility in other economies as a result of its close linkages to the global economy. The country as a whole is at serious risk due to its heavy reliance on energy infrastructures and supplies controlled by a foreign nation, Russia. The integrity of Estonia's infrastructure and supply chain are key to the country's energy security. The EU's member states must connect their energy systems and use a wider range of energy sources in order to end energy monopolies. To lessen dependency on imported energy, domestic energy efficiency must be improved. The NSC 2017 predicts that Europe's energy policy, which aims to maximize the use of resources inside the EU, will be highly relied upon in the upcoming years. In the far future, Estonia wants to employ more renewable energy sources for heating and power. Since Estonia's security situation has changed as a result of the current Ukraine-Russian crisis, Estonia will need to develop a substitute for Russian gas if it wants to stop funding Russia's military complex. The development of a floating LNG import facility, which has been planned for more than 10 years, could assist Estonia in reducing its dependence on Russian gas supplies. The energy company Alexela's plan includes a dock and an additional LNG ship for the Paldiski harbor on the Baltic coast. The Estonian approach would ultimately require financial backing and state assurance. Conclusion. Both philosophically and practically, Estonian security policy is plagued with uncertainty. The traditional comprehensive approach has been replaced in Estonia by two concurrent notions of comprehensive security and united defense. The division between these two terms allows Estonia to continue its tried-and-true strategy of full defense. Even defense policy decision-makers typically characterize integrated defense in this way. Because of this misunderstanding, Estonia prioritizes total defense and asymmetric warfare in its strategic decisions. This has an impact on how threats are perceived and defined in Estonia. Apart from that, conventional security threats pose the largest risk to Estonia, and Russia is more likely to have an impact on these threats given its past behavior, such as in the post-Soviet sphere. Because of this misconception, resilience has a counterpart concept in Estonia. For the civilian and uniformed elements of Estonia's military community, it appears to mean different things. This contrasts with how the military interprets the concept of resilience, which is typically seen through the prism of total defense. It is shown how the military versus civilian sides of the security debate focus on different aspects of security by combining a comprehensive approach with the Estonian way of resilience. Due to Estonia's current dual policy, it is challenging to reach widespread societal consensus on the degrees of uncertainty that are most likely, operational strategies under these circumstances, and long-term investments for the nation. Both the mobilization of the regular armed force and the development of domestic institutions capable of actively engaging in the global security architecture are necessary. This entails precisely defining the roles and responsibilities of all Estonian organizations involved in comprehensive national security, as well as accurately assessing the country's defense capabilities and communicating the results to Estonia's military allies.